Separate from this, we're talking about that G mixolydian blues scale again. That's not a term. So if you think like putting mixolydian over a chord, it won't work in that way. For example, if I try to play G mixolydian on C, here's G mixolydian. Here's C. Now I'm going to play the G mixolydian over the C. It doesn't really fit, and it's because of that B natural. Now if I played a B flat, I would be making it fit, so that doesn't count because then I've changed the theory so it will fit. We don't want to change the scales in that way, and then we wouldn't call it G mixolydian. So the point is there's no G mixolydian blues scale, but there is a G blues scale. And that sounds good on a C7 because it, again, like the other one, if I was in a G blues and my 4 chord would be C7. If I'm in a G blues, the 4 chord is C7. So I would be playing a G blues scale on C7. Now that will work in a C blues because they've got the first 3 notes are G, B flat, and C. So those are good notes. That's part of the C blues scale. And then we have this sharp note, and then that's D flat or C sharp, by the way. Then we go to D. That's 9 on the C7, so that's a nice note. And then we have F, which is the sus on the C7, suspended 4th. And that's also part of the C blues scale. And then you hit the G, that's part again of the C blues scale. So you have G, you have C, and you have G and you have F. Blow your ear out there. C. And so those notes are part of the C blues scale. And then the D is 9, like I said. Now that C sharp can be a little harsh. But it's not that bad. If I'm playing a C blues, I just did there on that C7, I played a double stop in there. I was playing the G blues scale. It's not necessarily important that you see what I did as well that you hear what I did, and then you can decide, what if I start my C blues with the G blues scale? Was G blues. All of that was G blues scale, even on the F. I'm making it work because I know that D is 13 on the F, so I can play that. C is 5 on the F, so I can play that. The C sharp is a passing tone, so I can play that, and that's nice, and the double stops are just going through. B flat is part of the C blues scale. It's also the sus note on F. G is 9 on F. And if I hit the F, F is on F. So those are, you'll notice that I'm relating, I've studied the available notes. So when I first started playing, I did everything by ear. And that was really fun. So I learned what good sounds were by listening to good players. But then I started wanting to have a little more direction and a little more intention in my playing, and not just be playing by ear or winging it. And so I started studying theory a little bit more in depth and learning these notes that work, these target notes, tension notes, knowing that those work. That gives me new authority. So now I can actually play the G blues scale on a C blues and make it sound good. And it's not just that I can make it sound good, it's sometimes I want that sound. So I'll go for that sound. And there again is part of the issue. I want to do that. That's why I do it. So sometimes that's the part that doesn't get in a theory book or from a teacher. Well, why do you do that? Well, because I want to. That's not always a nice answer. It sounds like you're being kind of stuck up or kind of cool. Well, cool, man, because I want to do it. I just do what I want. No, there are rules there, but the fact is, I do want to do that, so I will. Sometimes I want that down-home blues sound. I just want it to sound like a blues, so I'm not playing around with that. I want it in there. Stuff, all blues scale. I just want to be inside that blues and it feels good, and that's why I did that. Other times I just want more color, more sound. It's just what I'm hearing in the moment, and that's what it means to just do what you're hearing. That's why I love improvisation. More on that in other videos. But if you get too bogged down in licks and memorizing things and things that will work, that's what you'll do every time. But if you open your ears up to possibilities and the other things that are out there, and you learn your theory, then you can do what you want, when you want. So the bottom line to that is, when I used to listen to albums, and I'll probably say this again in a bunch of videos, I probably said it already, but I would hear somebody play something and I'd be like, man, that's amazing. Then I would try to figure out what they're doing, and why did he play a C sharp on an F7? You know, why? Then you figure out, well, it's part of the G blues. Okay, that's one thing. But the other answer that really eluded me for quite a while, till I started playing with some jazz guys who were older and knew more, because he wanted to. Why did he play that? Because he wanted to, Mark. And that's why I do it, and you start getting involved in this, and that's why you'll do it. Okay, so I think we're good with this here. So let's make sure, we'll do this last, make sure I'm not leaving anything out.